at the boat! Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pioneer Outdoors. If you guys don't know who I am or haven't ever watched the videos, my name's Josh Tanner, and along with my son Thad, we go out and go on these great adventures, and we try to bring you guys along with us and show you what we got going. So right now in Michigan, we are just clearing up the winter, and the ice is going out. So I got a phone call from my buddy Sharpie, who, if you guys have watched the videos, right there, Sharpie. Hello. Anyway, if you guys have watched the videos, me and him went out to Kansas this last year, and he ended up shooting just a giant monster, 170-inch, I think it was a 12-point. He invited me along to come out here to Iowa, some of his ground, and we're going to do some shed hunting. So we took a road trip last night, and it is an unbelievable, beautiful morning here in Iowa. The sun is coming up. It's going to be about 50 degrees today, and we are going to hit the woods and hopefully find some big old monster sheds for you. So stick around. We're going to go hit the woods, and I'm going to take you guys along with me. So we'll see you in a bit. Heaven, I'm in heaven. Some big old tracks. Giant Iowa whitetail. I could walk through this stuff for days. Except for that part. Whew. Holy moly, look at this scrape. Just ripping. This is what I love about coming in the spring after the winter. Everything's dead. But everything that happened in November through the rut, it's just like it's untouched. These are scrapes right here. You guys can see these are scrapes from the November rut. Chad didn't draw a tag for Iowa this year because we're non-residents, obviously. But yeah, his property is definitely prime time. This property is actually property that butts up to some of Lee and Tiffany Lakoski's property. So if you guys know Lee and Tiffany, do the math. Just do the research. They grow some world-class bucks on their properties, and Chad was fortunate enough to be able to buy this piece of acreage. There's a big old rub. Ooh, nothing says big bucks like big old rubs. For those of you that love deer hunting, I know you can appreciate this stuff. I mean, one of the reasons, people say deer hunting is only, basically October through December, but I can tell you that that's not the case. It is definitely, deer hunting is definitely 365 days a year. This is why I love deer hunting. And this time of year, man, you can't find out a lot about what the deer movement is. Oh my Lord, look at this rub. Look at this rub. There's another one right there. Look at this thing. It's just silly. Man, this is crazy. So you see these cuts? You see these cuts in these trees? What that is that actually I think it's called girdling a tree. It actually kills the tree. And I see there's several trees around here that have these cuts in them. And I could be 100% wrong about that. I'm no timber manager, but I know that's not good for a tree when you start cutting into it like that. Well, we just walked Chad's first piece of property, and man, I tell you what, it is freaking an incredible piece of property. Unbelievable. Food plots, ridges, creek bottom, crop fields, ditches, you name it, it's got it all. We did find one shed, little guy, but still a pretty nice little shed. We were hoping to find something else, but over way behind me here, over this direction, is a still standing cornfield that's, gosh, it looked to be probably about 80 acres. So I'm sure that had something to do with maybe not finding some sheds, because Chad had standing beans on his field, and we walked that and didn't find anything. So, but still, incredible piece of property. Lots of fun out here. Great walk. It's good to get outside after the winter, knock the dust off. So we are going to go grab some breakfast, and then we are going to go to another piece of property, his new piece of property, and we're going to go check that out. Pretty excited. He hasn't really spent much time on it either since he's bought it. Yeah, so we're going to head over that way. It's about an hour away from here. So we will see you at the next piece of property. So we are here at the new piece of property that that Chad purchased back, would have been this fall, and never really stepped foot on it. I never have. Chad really hasn't put a whole lot of time into it. So it's a little bit different layout than the other piece of property. It's a little bit more open, but this is in a really, really good area. He just walked over to grab a trail camera that he put out this fall when he was out here. So we're going to take a look at this piece of property. I'm really excited. I know he's super excited too. So hopefully we're going to find some sheds. I mean, that was the whole idea. We wanted to come out here and find some sheds for you guys. So anyway, we're going to take a walk. So this is it. How many acres? 160. Is it mostly, and it's what, mostly field?
This side is.
Dang. Now where did you sit and just see deer?
Way on the back. Way back there.
Wow. This looks good. Uh-oh. We see something. We see something. We're over here. Sharpie's got the mad scientist look in his eyes.
Yeah.
And we have found a pretty darn good shed. Nice. It's halfway decent. Yeah, it's all right. Especially since you made it through. Yeah. 2.5-year-old, probably. Yeah. Sharpie was just down over here and found a shed, and I'm looking right up here in front of me, and it looks like I got another one right here, so pretty stoked. Sure is. Nice. Cool. Oh yeah. 10-point shed. 5x. Nice little shed. Cool. So I was just telling Chad, I'm like, man, I said, I know they're coming down here, and this is almost like telltale. This is right at the top side of a washout right here. So these deer get to the top side and they got to jump. Well, guess what? When they jump, they have like this landing pad where it's all beat up, and it's a jar to their head. So I get right to the top side of this, and there's a shed laying right here. Come on, I'll show you. Check it out. Heavy little 6-point shed. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. We know there was a buck that crossed here at one time. So what we're doing here, guys, is we got these trails that are coming through, and these deer it's so thick down in these draws and stuff with pucker brush and wild rose bushes, and I mean, it's really, really sticky down in there. So I think these deer are traveling. I mean, you can really get them. They're traveling a certain path. They're not straying off it too much. And basically what's going on is they're finding these fence breaks where the fence is a little bit torn down. So what we did was we come in here with some wire cutters and actually opened up these fences a little bit on these trails. So it'll help out with getting these deer actually more narrowed down or pinpointed or neck down to where we want them to go. So this is actually a nice little pinch here. It really drops off down below here, and then it comes up to a crop field, and then right behind me the deer will jump into another little finger and stuff. So, and by cutting a fence down, this is Chad's fence, so it's not like we're on a farmer's ground where we're cutting their fences. This is his fence, so I mean, this is okay. So, but when you cut a fence down like this, it definitely these deer will figure it out, and once they figure it out, they'll use this break in the fence for sure. We got a plan.
Master plan.
Something new that Thad and I are going to be doing this year is we're going to be having like a breakdown of what we might be doing that particular day. Say we're fishing one day, maybe we'll talk about some of the fishing gear we have, or if we're out filming stuff, we'll talk about our filming gear and what we use. And then, but in today's breakdown, we're going to talk about shed hunting. So let's jump into this episode, and we're going to break down how we go about finding our sheds. this segment of the breakdown, we're going to be talking about sheds and where we like to go about finding them. There's three main places that I like to look initially when we find sheds. And one is going to be bedding area and the trails going in and out of bedding areas. Also, we're going to be looking at food sources. And then the third would be fences or places where a deer might have to jump, say across a ditch or something like that. When we look at bedding areas, basically you're just skirting around where a deer is going to spend a lot of their time bedding, and you know, we found these two sheds and bedding areas, and you know, that's a great place to find them. Two is going to be the main trails going in and out of food sources. Obviously, deer got to eat, just like people got to eat. And they're going to take a trail. There's usually trails going to and from those food sources from the bedding areas. So if you can get out and you can find those main trails off the food sources, we found a big shed in a bean field, and that shed we found was going from a bedding area to another bedding area, and the food source was right in the middle. So we found that one laying right out in the field. And then the other, I found a shed, a little 6-point shed on a ditch line where it was a washout, and I walked up till the washout wasn't there anymore, where the washout basically started, and the deer actually had to jump over the ditch, and it shook its, you know, obviously there was an impact there where the deer had to jump, and it lost its antler right there on the top of that washout. So, and then you know, the fence breaks. Anytime a deer has to jump over a fence is a great spot to be looking for a shed to jar loose. So anyway, that's your tip of the day. Hope you guys like these tips, and leave a comment below on what you might like us to look for or talk about in our breakdown episode. So thanks for watching, guys. Let's get back to the show.